Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And yes, I know last time I said I was going to cut back on the all one genre episode. I guess this kind of happened. I mean, there was a lot of my backlog that was kind of fitting in this territory anyway. Can't promise I won't do it again, but hey, we're here. Let's get on the pulse. So before we go any further, if you would like to like and subscribe, I'd be extremely grateful. Again, these sort of all-one genre episodes, you'd think they would do better, but no, not really. So the more shares you get, the more happier I would be with this. But again, we got projects that are all either in country or folk or singer-songwriter, and there's 8 of them on the docket. So let's start off with, from Kelsea Ballerini, Subject to Change. I should not be as surprised with this as I am, because for the first time, Kelsea Ballerini swerved a little bit away from pop to lean more on country. Now, still pop country that cribs from the vocal mixing of Red-era Taylor Swift, but it's closer to maybe even Shania Twain with the brighter organic textures, the fiddles, the pedal steel, and the most live drums she's ever had. So okay, the sound really works for me, and thus it's a shame that the writing is so frustratingly nondescript. The reason Doing My Best is getting the most media attention isn't just because of the Halsey fallout, but it's one of the most unique and distinctive stories here. This album is missing that messy moral ambiguity that helped her material stand out before, which given her past year you'd think she'd want to lean into, but then she will then openly reference those past songs. So yes, it's sweet, lightweight, generally a comfortable album, just nowhere near as interesting as it could be. That's worrying. From Emily Scott Robinson, Built on Bones. So as a side project, I want to like this. A gentle recontextualization of the witches of Shakespeare's Macbeth, rooted in a morally ambiguous but historically rather true sacred feminine that calls back to the past but it feels just as relevant now, helped along by Robinson's gorgeous lilting vocals and supported by some terrific harmonies from Elisa Amador and Violet Bell. But it may lean a little too much on the past. So much verse was being pulled from Shakespeare that I kind of wanted more of Robinson's distinctive lyrical flair, or if the beautiful country folk production could get kind of wilder or stranger, it might be a little bit too tasteful for its own good. Now granted, to a lot of audiences, to convey this sort of transgressive framing and parallel, you need to be accessible, but when my favorites here are reinterpreted from American Siren twice, I don't know, the studied greatness just needed a shade more magic. From Gabe Lee, The Hometown Kid. This was one of my most anticipated albums of 2022, especially after Honky Tonk Hell absolutely ruled my 2020. And with the pivot towards more spacious, really well-produced Americana, I was set to love this album, and yet I don't. Tough to pin down why. Lee is still amazingly charismatic with a great ear for lyrical meter. His playing and production is top notch. I love how well mic'd his drums sound, and the writing feels very homespun, detailed, passionate, especially when it touches on sports. But there's been a slight change in focus. Not only have the tempos gotten slower, the composition's more sprawling, but it's more reflective and nostalgic, more settled, finding value in home, losing some of that adventurous cowboy swagger. It's kind of like that last American Aquarium album where it's more mature, it's very easy to like, but you long for more spark. So yeah, great stuff, just maybe not at his peak. From Courtney Marie Andrews, Loose Future. What's kind of frustrating about Andrews is that she's got such a striking voice and a knack for deceptively simple lyricism with such emotive resonance, provided the production is right. Stripping it all down for Old Flowers felt like a misstep in 2020, so here she's working with Sam Evian, who produces a warmer, more lush, acoustic chamber folk and country sound, even tilting towards some wheedling psychedelia. And yes, while it feels a bit abbreviated, and I wish her vocals were better centered in the reverb, and at the end it does kind of get away from them, it is an improvement, especially in the layered vocal harmonies. But the lyrics are what do it for me yet again. Trying to be loose, live each relationship in the moment, cherishing the ones who actually can do that, but she's failing for herself because she loves harder, and history lays a path for even a loose future. So okay, it ain't her best, but it's at least back on the cusp of greatness. This one went under the radar. Check it out. From Ashley McBryde, Ashley McBryde presents Lindeville. Let me say this. The cover of Linda Ronstadt's When Will I Be Loved with Brandy Clark and Kaylee Hammack, it's one of the best covers you'll hear in 2022. It justifies the album on that alone. But it's on this concept album that I do want to like more than I do, with the fictional town of Lindeville and its messy secrets and small town misadventures, where McBryde herself cedes a lot of time to her collaborators. There's a lot of detail in setting and characters, which Jenny Tolman also did a little better, complete with some of the similar fake commercials earlier this year, but less of a plot to tie things together. It just feels a bit broadly sketched, where Josh Osborne's production, it's warm and organic and country, but a bit plastic in some fine details. But you know what, the vibrant empathy with so many tremendous individual performances, including that finale, yeah, you know what, it's the right kind of camp. I will call it great. From Noah Kahan, Stick Season. Is early 2010s folk pop having a nostalgic revival? Did it ever really go away? I mean, consider Noah Kahan, who fits between James Bay and Mumford & Sons with some surprisingly sharp melodic instincts. So with no real critical buzz, but a real following, I was curious about this. And I'll say this. It's edgeless and way too long, and Kahn's vocal runs and falsetto make me irrationally angry. He's got willowy, stereotypical indie guy voice, but solid tunes and bombast are gonna make this guy a goddamn superstar if he's managed properly. And you know what, honestly, for me, that can make up for a lot, except the writing, which hits the uncanny valley of being impressively basic, but also bleeding with faux, self-aware, overprivileged, whinging petulance that can't remotely sell any of the darker ideas or tragedy. At best, blandly pleasant. At worst, pleasantly insufferable. That's not a recommendation. From Bailey Zimmerman, Leave the Light On. You know, when this guy first came on the scene, I think pretty much everyone pegged him as a Morgan Wallen ripoff, but this EP actually shows there's more to him, and even where he might surpass Wallen, certainly this year. What's kind of fascinating is that his melodies feel much closer to adult alternative, or even 2000s era post-grunge as a fit for his sour, angry side to his breakup songs, and there's an intensity to the vivid detail that feels more emotionally true than you would expect. Shame that away from the first couple of singles, the rest of the EP is just kind of decent. I like how it leans on some bluesy, country tones with some great fiddle texture, but the production is average at best, the nasal warble vocals could use some refinement, and a lot of the relationship songs have an angsty, clingy side that doesn't have the same resonance. So, okay, call it promisingly good with room to grow up. I do want to hear more. From First Aid Kit, Palomino. So it's been 4 years since the last First Aid Kit album, and while this Swedish duo has a formula, Ruins had them expanding their sound, and early 2018 feels like a lifetime ago. And this sees them push even further, embracing more 70s soft rock and country with the horns and the synths for the most vivid pop hooks where it can feel almost oversaturated. The production is fine, balancing some warm, colorful mixes and terrific vocal harmonies as expected, but between the goopy synths, some clipping, and feeling very beholden to the influences, it's not quite as special as it could be. And that also kind of feels true with the compositions and lyrics as well, maybe needing a little bit more lyrical detail to flesh out moments of sweet yearning in and out of relationships, maybe not enough anthemic hooks that are going for broke. It is polished, it's accessible, very likable, but it lacks the impact of their best, so I'd call it good, just not great. So yeah, once again, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be extremely grateful. We are so close to 43,000, that'd be really special to get there. Beyond that though, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. And if you guys want to get albums on my schedule before the end of the year, which is coming up a lot faster than you might think, or hell, just maybe support the channel beyond buying my merch, link down there in the description, or just want to have an opportunity to argue with me on Discord, link to my Patreon is right over there. Don't feel obligated, tough times, I understand, but option is available. Till then, I'm Mark, you're watching On the Pulse on Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.